Good afternoon, one and all, and especially to Zola Salena over there behind the camera. Once again, it's Tuesday afternoon and we're doing this. I'm reading chapter by chapter of Likka Sto Rufus. Likka Sto Rufus.
There you go.
A snarky, middle-aged man who has been through a lot, as you will see as we go through the book. Sometimes I find myself feeling a little surprised at what it is he is going through. Anyway, starting with the first chapter, Willie West, writer, meets Likka Sto Rufus outside of a liquor store where he's panhandling, but he's doing it in a way that would almost indicate that he's not asking you to give him anything. He's just simply giving you an opportunity to take him through his day and do what he wants to do. He doesn't drink. Incidentally, I'm drinking pomegranate juice and pineapple juice, and it's really quite a mixture. The pineapple has that citrusy flavor, and the pomegranate smooths the whole thing out with a little ice in it. Okay, let's go on to chapter 2.
All right, storyteller, tell us.
What did you call me?
Storyteller.
Storyteller. That's what I thought you said. I'm proud. And I'm a proud storyteller.
You should be. You tell interesting stories.
And I have interesting stories, I hope.
Yes.
This is chapter 2.
All right.
Well, I'll be damned. There he was, only a few feet to the left of where I last saw him, still standing at parade rest. I felt kind of anxious to talk with Likka Sto again. I should also mention that the Likka Sto gang was still there. They had huddled under the shade of a large tree on the edge of the parking lot. There are also ways some people hang out in the parking lot near the liquor store.
Yes.
5 men and 2 women, animated, passing a large joint around clockwise, a bottle of cheap wine counterclockwise, maskless. I felt that same sense of sadness that I always felt when I saw black people who had surrendered. Oh well. How's it going, Rufus? He turned to give me a penetrating look over the top of his I am Black History mask. Do I know you?
Oops.
I felt like an idiot. I could definitely relate to where he was coming from. I was also one of those people who resented people who use your first name, no matter whether they knew you or not, no matter whether you wanted them to use your first name or not. It was simply a matter of respect. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it kicked back to slavery, when all enslaved Africans were only accorded one name. Hey, you, Jupiter. My name is Willie West. I met you a couple of weeks ago and I contributed 6 of my hard-earned dollars to your welfare. I hope you're not bitter or nothing. Home. I couldn't figure out what it was. The way he grabbed me, the way he said things. For the first time I had put the mask on, for the first time since I had put the mask on and watched other reasonable people put their masks on, I felt like snatching my mask off and screaming at another human being, "All right, this is who I am, now show me who you are." But I didn't go there because Rufus chilled me out. "Oh, yeah, Mr. Stingy Pants, I remember you. Long time no see." Mr. Kim's standard greeting. "Yeah, no see, long time." I think Rufus had aroused a bit of malice in me. Mr. Kim didn't seem to take any particular notice of my attempt to be funny. He served me my gin, gave me change for my 20, and waved me away the sharp military salute. I strolled out asking myself, wonder if Mr. Kim was in the army. Wonder what his story is. These wandering thoughts took me out of the door. Oh, now that you got your fire water, you ain't in a hurry to go home and get drunk, huh? His caustic, sarcastic, gravel-gritty voice stopped me. What is it with this guy? What is it about him that butts me in the head? I turned and made a slow, deliberate stroll over to his position. That was the way I saw it. He had staked out a position. I peeled a fire spot out of my change to give to him. He accepted my offers as though I was paying him something that I owed him. This ain't gonna mess up your budget for the rest of the week or anything, is it? I hope not. Truth be told, I felt like snatching my money back out of this dude's hand and saying something nasty. I resisted the urge and strolled back to my car. Weird how the creative mind works. From giving him $5 and strolling back to my car, I came up with a hard thought. Who is this? Where is he coming from? By the time I placed the gin in my glove compartment, I had organized a plan. I was going to find out who was coming at me for my money, the way he was doing it. Well, actually, he wasn't righteously conning me out of anything. I was conning myself. Back to make a contribution to the less fortunate. That was the way he welcomed me. I had to smile. This guy was something else. No, not another contribution today. You drink coffee? There was a slight pause before he answered. Well, actually, I'm a tea drinker. All right, you don't drink coffee, you drink tea. Okay, you have tea, I'll have coffee. How about having a cup of your favorite drink at the Salena-Hawkins with me? The Salena-Hawkins was this completely hip Filipino coffee house bakery 6 business steps north of the liquor store. The mall was almost a village. The supermarket was the centerpiece, flanged by the Salena-Hawkins on the south, a nail shop, a laundromat, and Mr. Kim's liquor store on the north side. And a couple of restaurants that kept coming and going. I say the Filipino place was hip because they had figured out how to do business in the middle of the plague. Number one, they were the first to extend their stuff out into the parking lot. Here's the way they set it up. They had set up 10 plastic-covered cubicles as extensions of their business. They had placed 10 ping-pong-type tables inside the cubicles with seats 6 feet on each side of the table, which is separated by plastic screens. It made even the most squeamish feel safe. They could go inside this cubicle, take off their masks, and talk across the ping-pong table through the plastic curtain and feel safe. That was the whole goal of the scene, safety. No one wanted to risk getting the virus except Trump people. Yeah, I'll have a cup of tea with you at the pole, but I have to tell you, I'm not into hugging and kissing men or anything like that, dig it? Don't worry, pal, the last thing I would ask you is to hug and kiss me. You're paying for this, right? I'm paying. Okay, let's go. It only took a few steps to see that Rufus had a little hitch in his get-up. He had a dip in his step that might have been mistaken for a hip way to walk, but I could see that it was a clever disguise for something else. Arthritis, maybe? After having his old knees fixed when I got back from Nam, a Vietnam vet, no place to start. A ping-pong table for 2 in the patio, a plastic curtain between us, and a plastic cubicle. I couldn't wait to take my hot mask off. Rufus seemed to hesitate before removing his mask. Rufus, the first thing I have to ask you is, what is your real name? The sister over there told me they start calling you Likka Sto Rufus to distinguish you from Store Rufus. It was a real surprise to see this man's face, to study the expressive lines. He looked Ethiopian to me, with the aquiline nose, the sexual mouth, and the firm chin line. He looked to be about 60 or maybe 70, old enough to be my great-grandfather. He asked a lot of questions, huh? Maybe. I found the best way to get answers is to ask questions. My government name is Melvin Montague Nixon III. I'm sorry. Did I say third or fourth? Third. What do people mean when they say my government name is? Where are you from, man? Everybody knows that your government name is the name in the FBI files, the name on your check, and stuff like that. Well, in answer to the first part of your question, I'm from Chicago. Me too, he mumbled in his throat. It didn't seem his voice suited his face with all of the gravel. Really? Yeah, you don't believe me? He was constantly defending himself, constantly challenging me or something. Yeah, I believe it. What part of Chi? Born on the near west side, Washburn and Racine. You know what it is? Oh, yeah. I know Chicago pretty well. Born on the near west side when it was all Negro black. Lived there all my life till I joined the Army. The Vietnamese War, of course. We sat there looking at each other for a few beats. Two ex-Windy City guys. The waitress interrupted our silence. Tea and coffee, anything else? Rufus, Melvin, you want anything else? You can call me Rufus. You call me Rufus. That's what everybody else calls. Yeah, I like something else. Let me see the menu. Interesting dude, really interesting. I studied him as he studied the menu. He took his time before making a choice. I'll take this fish stew. It's got lots of fish in it, right? Yes, plenty of fish. Good, I'll take that. You're paying for this, right? The whole thing. I ordered a couple of double chicken rolls. We went back into the silent mode for a minute or two. Melvin, Rufus, wasn't the type to blabber. He gave me the impression of being in a counter-punch posture all of the time. So you like fish a lot, huh? I do. And Tarzan likes fish too, like most cats, I guess. Bet he's at home waiting for you to come home with the goodies. Nah. Ain't no telling where Tarzan is. He comes and goes. That's the way most tomcats are. How do you know he's a tomcat? Well, just what you just said about Tarzan coming and going. Yeah, you got that right. He's a tom, all right. Their double rolls were delicious, and I could tell the Rufus was enjoying his fish stew. Half through our lunch, I decided to dig a little deeper into this feisty little man's psyche. So you got drafted for Nam. I felt like I had said something nasty to him from the way the corners of his mouth curled down. He stopped eating and stared off into the distance. I felt like he had left the scene. Yeah, I got drafted. Drafted to go over there and kill up a bunch of little brown men and women for the big white man. I had struck a chord. The dude was bitter as hell. What was it the great Muhammad Ali once said? Ain't no Viet Cong ever called me a nigger. Why should I go over there and fight him? Rufus was constantly keeping me off balance. I debated going into the Vietnam War thing with him, but it seemed that he had said everything he wanted to say in one sentence. Lunch was over, now what? You going back to the liquor store? Nah, I finished that for today. I used to put in about 3 hours from 11 to 2, that's it. He made it sound like a job, a job. 3 hours a day from 11 to 2, panhandler's hours. What made you decide to panhandle in front of the liquor store? He cocked his head to one side as though he couldn't hear too well. Nobody ever asked me nothing like that. The simple answer is simple. Drunks and semi-drunks are much more generous than sober people. I could stand in front of this restaurant all day and starve to death. I couldn't really put my finger on it, but how I felt about what he said about people going in and out of the liquor store. Was he calling me a drunk? A semi-drunk? I had to let it pass. The dude moved past me real fast emotionally. So you're going home. I'm going back to my space. I'll give you a lift. I gave peripheral notice of the Likka Sto gang. They made an effort to pretend not to be curious, but I could tell from the joint going around, seeing them being suspended animation, that they were very curious about what was happening. Melvin Monchang Dixon, a.k.a. Likka Sto Rufus, was hanging out with this young brother from nowhere. I could read the wheels clanking around in their skulls. Who is this brother? What's the deal? None of this seemed to matter to Rufus. He did his hip, dip, rip, knees giddy up glitch to my BW. He stood at parade dress looking at my ancient car for a few beats before he folded himself inside. You know something, Willie? I was a bit tripped out to hear him call me by my government name. I thought he'd forgotten it. What's that, Rufus? I think you must be either an FBI agent, a Russian spy, or one of these weird-ass African-American writers. I'm one of these weird-ass African-American writers. I knew it. I knew it. When you kept on asking me these weird-ass questions, I knew your weird-ass brother, but I didn't know was a writer, too. Your brother had worn me out. All I could think of was a well-chilled ginger and gin beer with a lot of ice. I'd had enough for one afternoon. Rufus, I'm going to drop you off. Where? He pointed straight ahead and then to the left through an alley behind the shops that faced the mall. Right here, this is me. I stared at the tent erected in the fenced-in area behind Mr. Kim's liquor store. It was a fairly spacious tent, one of the kind that you could stand up in, a safari tent. It tripped me out. This is where you are? Sounded like a silly-ass question, but I asked it anyway. This is where I am, was the answer without any other explanation or comments. And then from the corner of my eye, I caught the furtive approach of a large black tomcat. Tarzan. I'll never be able to figure out how he knows I'm bringing him some food home, but he knows it. And that's the only time he shows up. Why do you call him Tarzan? It didn't take a lot of imagination to imagine Rufus smiling behind his mask, because he's a swinger. He's free. I can't pet him because he ain't into that. And he's deep. You hear what I'm saying? He's deep.
Okay.
Watch him take a couple of nips of this fish stew. He might dig into it, or he might turn up his nuts and piss in it. I drove away from Rufus's place thinking about a lot of stuff that would help me with the deadly cult. He's writing a book called The Deadly Cult. And I'm going to leave that there for the moment because that's the end of chapter 2. It'll begin to gel after a little bit, but the point I'm trying to make about Rufus is that he's an iconoclast. And he's the kind of iconoclastic character, frankly, that I haven't been able to see in anything written by a black writer in the last, since Bigger Thomas. It's been that long. It's way back Richard Wright times. So we'll see where it goes. I'm pleased to be able to join you this afternoon.
I'm certainly glad that you did take time to join us, put us down in your calendar. And so we will calendar this for next week. All right. And the weekly readings of Conversations with Likka Sto Rufus.
Conversation with, this is, I love the cover.
Yes, indeed. And
Carlos Spivey.
Yes, Carlos Spivey.
Right here.
And you can read the blurb with Dr. Justin Gifford wrote on the back.
Oh, very good. In addition to that, a lady named Zola Salena-Hawkins did the photographs in it.
Okay. You want to read the blurb that Justin wrote?
Well, I'll read it if you insist.
I would like that, please.
Who is Jesse Gifford?
Justin
Gifford. Who is this?
Professor Justin Gifford. He was
At the University of Nevada.
Yes, he was.
He teaches in the English lit.
Right, but now he's moved, and he's quite a unique fellow who's written several books of himself. You know.
I'm just kidding. Of course I know who Justin is.
Mm-hmm.
Set against the backdrop of the COVID crisis and the 2020 presidential election, Conversations with Likka Sto Rufus follows the incredible story of Malcolm Montaigne Dixon III, a.k.a. Likka Sto Rufus. The novel tracks Rufus's harrowing journey as a tunnel rat in the jungles of Vietnam, a prison behind bars at San Quentin, and a dope fiend on the streets of Los Angeles. Recounting 50 years of black history from the ground level through the eyes of Rufus, Conversations is ultimately a protest of the legacies of white supremacy in the age of Trump. It is written in the witty urban style we have come to expect from Odie Hawkins, and is why he is known as the underground master.
Right, yes.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Justin.
I appreciate that.
Yes, indeed. And, you know, folks can check out his website, Dr. Justin Gifford, and the books that he has written. All right? In the meantime, your website is www.odiehawkins.com. ODIE-Hawkins.com. And your books can be purchased on Amazon, or a person can go to their bookstore and say, I want a book by Odie Hawkins, and the bookstore can order. All right, with that,
I'm going to say to you, itness.
Itness.